important that no legislation got passed this year about climate change in Rhode Island. When has Joe McNamara spoken out about the climate crisis and the action that Rhode Island needs to take?
Well, I think that there are a number of opportunities for the chairman to talk about a number of issues. He happens to be the chair of the Health and Education and Wellness Committee, so it's not his particular committee, although he has supported...
Well, climate change is a health issue. People are... Asthma is one of the leading causes of death in like the entire world. The air is toxic. Right now in South Providence, Shell is up for a permit for the air quality, and they have always gotten it, even though the air quality is toxic. It's toxic air in South Providence, and yet the National Grid also just got a liquefaction facility approved because of suppression of health data from the Department of Health. So that is the perfect committee for climate action to take place, because this is a health issue overall.
Well, there is don't quote me on this, at least in the House, there is a Energy and Natural Resources Committee where a lot of the climate change legislation and a lot of the pieces of policy related to climate change are actually handled.
It doesn't have to be that way, though.
Just a minute, just let me finish. And I believe it is Chairman Bennett from Warwick who is the chair of that committee, and there are a bunch of pieces of legislation that are there. If your frustration is about the lack of progress on climate change legislation, that is a different conversation, I think, than the one that you started with. So I'm trying to understand, what is your specific concern? Is your concern about the lack of addressing the issue of climate change globally, or are we talking about specifically the presidential debate and wanting to have a presidential debate on climate change? Because those two things require different conversations. Does that make sense?
But I think you heard everyone sharing their story and the introduction, and then your response to that was kind of saying, like, wiping off the responsibility of the Democratic Party, of the politicians, and saying that it was up to the media, and that the media has the power to frame these questions. And I think it's like, so then I guess to answer the question is, what we're saying is we need more of the Democratic Party to stand up. We need the Democratic Party to announce their support for a climate debate, because it's not being discussed enough. And so it's like, sure, you think, like, we're saying that you do have the power, that your words, that you going out, you publicly announcing to the DNC, to Tom Perez, to everyone who does have that power, that we really need this, because Rhode Island is going to be affected by climate change just like the rest of the world, just like the rest of this country. And so it's not really just up to the media, it's also the party, and so like the party needs to step up for us.
Well, so two responses to that, and I appreciate that. So you're talking just about presidential debates, which I am prepared to have a conversation about. That's the premise of the reason why I thought you guys were coming here. With respect to presidential debates, I can't speak for Joe McNamara. I can't speak for the 4 DNC members that we have in Rhode Island, but here's what my position is. My position is we should have as robust a policy debate about all the issues that people care about, including climate change. I also don't believe, though, that we have enough time between now and next June to have a debate on every one of those issues singularly, because we have 26 or 25 now presidential candidates. Eric Swalwell dropped out last week, and there's just not enough time to be able to have all of the candidates talk about the issues that they care about in a singular fashion under the DNC's current framework. That's my personal opinion. Like I said, I'm not a voting member of the DNC. I'm a staff person, so I'm happy to communicate how you guys feel to our DNC members. But what I will say to you is that if you just take that framework away for a minute and you're talking about the issue of climate change, I don't think there's any doubt that the Rhode Island Democratic Party understands how important this issue is. I don't think that there's any doubt that our members are representing how folks feel about climate change at the national party. I don't think there's any doubt about that. You may have a disagreement of opinion based on things that you've seen, but I know how Joe McNamara feels about this. I know how Grace Diaz feels about this. I know how Joe Pehli feels about this. And I know how Anna Matson, those are the 4 DNC members that we have in Rhode Island, feel about it. You should know that there are 2 resolutions about this issue scheduled to be before the DNC, I believe in August. And so there will be a large conversation, I think, among the former DNC members about how Rhode Island is going to respond to this issue. But have no doubt, I think, that when it comes to understanding how important climate change is and the effects that it could have here in the Ocean State, that the Rhode Island delegation to the DNC understands that and will be making sure that your voices are heard at the larger DNC meeting. I can't tell you what's going to happen with the whole DNC membership, but I can tell you that our 4 DNC members hear you loud and clear. They understand this, and they're going to be working on it among the body.